on civilian areas of Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky saying in the past week, Russia's launched more than 1,200 drones, 39 missiles, and almost 1,000 powerful glide bombs.
They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now.
Trump also expressed frustration over the lack of progress of his peace efforts.
If I can stop a war, because I have an ability to do so, I'm disappointed, frankly, that President Putin hasn't stopped. I'm not happy about it either.
Ben Thomas, Washington.
On Monday, Trump set a 25% tax on goods imported from Japan and South Korea, as well as new rates on a dozen other nations. He posted letters on his Truth Social platform addressing leaders of various countries and warning that if they increased their tariffs, the U.S. would retaliate with more. The new rates will go into effect on August 1st. Federal agents and National Guard troops briefly descended on a largely immigrant neighborhood of Los Angeles on Monday. Local officials said the operation seemed to be designed to spread fear. And the death toll from the flooding in central Texas has risen to more than 100. At a series of briefings since the floodings on July 4th, Kerr County officials deflected questions about preparations and warnings as forecasters warned of life-threatening conditions. The county in the Texas Hill Country is home to several summer camps, including Camp Mystic, an all-girls Christian summer camp that lost at least 27 campers and counselors. This is AP News. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports Indonesians near a volcano eruption are seeking protection.
Residents are wearing masks in fear of the thick volcanic ash as rumbling Mount Lebotobi Laki-Laki erupted for a second straight day. The eruption at dawn sent lava and clouds of ash more than 2 miles high. The eruption followed 2 larger ones on Monday. Photos and videos circulating on social media showed terrified residents running for their lives under the rain of ash and gravel as the ash clouds expanded into a mushroom shape. No casualties have been reported, though, from the latest eruptions of the volcano. That has been at the highest alert level since June 18. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Foreign tourists are trickling back to China after the country loosened its visa policy. Citizens from 74 countries can now enter China for up to 30 days without a visa. More information at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms at times here for today, with partial sunshine developing and a high in the upper 80s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 70. By Wednesday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Partial sunshine develops, a high around 85. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 72. Hey, Chicago. Hal Sparks is coming back to Chicago for a live show on Saturday, July 12th. He'll be back at Max and Benny's in Northbrook. The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, airs Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Guess what? Johnny Million would join him, but most of all, he wants to talk with you about everything going on right now. Tickets are on sale at heartlandsignal.com/WCPT820. Get yours now before they're gone. This remote broadcast is made possible by Max and Benny's Restaurant, Deli, and Bakery.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good morning, Tuesday morning, progressives, and welcome to the July 8th, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. That's our Credo mobile phone and text line. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com and catch me on Substack. I'll catch all of our shows, as always, by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get the Choose Views short version and long version. Of course, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Excuse me, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, and of course, Out Chicago and our other shows and interviews. Make your way over to heartlandsignal.com because that is our digital platform. And on today's show, gonna be busy running that track pretty hard today. We have some pretty interesting guests, always interesting guests, but I should say unique in this particular space and time. H.H. Leonards and Tracy Halliday from 51 Steps will be with us today. Michelle Peltier, Moments with Michelle, 7 o'clock. And then in the 7:30 hour, Paige Gardner will be with us from Innovating for Public Good to talk about voting and talk about how we can make some changes and gain some ground and take some ground back in the space of voting and registration and all that. So looking forward to chatting with those three guests this morning and bringing you up to speed on a few current events along the way. And probably a couple of Choose Views news items when we come back from this first break. But for now, speaking of voting, check this out, progressives.
I just want to say to every American that's having trouble with this, I am sorry I voted for him. I regret it with all my heart. I feel like I've enabled this monster to destroy democracy, destroy everything that is good in this country.
We've got a very crazy man driving the train, and he's going to kill this country.
And Anthony, are you voting a straight up and down Democratic ticket?
Not only there, I am actually for the very first time contributing across the board, across the country. And I've never, ever written a check or spent any money on anything political because I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
I've been a lifelong Republican since the day I turned 18. For the first time in my life, I'm going to vote a straight Democratic ticket. Is if they're connected to Donald Trump, they are not connected to me.
So you now are no longer a Republican?
I am not, no.
Because of Donald Trump?
Because of Donald Trump. It was no longer the party that I joined. It's morphed into something that's almost unrecognizable.
You were a lifelong Republican.
Right.
If somebody had told you, say 15 years ago, that you are preparing to vote a straight up and down Democratic ticket in the midterms, you would have said what to them?
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
So why are you now doing it?
To see Republicans not stand up to him, and the ones that do are just quitting.
I just think there's no values left anymore. There should be values. We have no values. He doesn't have any values. I thought he had values.
No, I'm definitely voting Democrat. I've been knocking on doors. I got a clipboard.
You're even canvassing.
I am canvassing for a Democrat in Wyoming.
That's how strongly you feel.
I believe hardly anything the president says, but I do believe he's a danger to this country and to our democracy. I'm going to fight every day.
I guess I can say that's a breath of fresh air. I talked about that yesterday in terms of Allison Camerado doing the interview with eight or so people about where they are currently. Now, there's a couple of different observations that run through my mind with regard to what you just heard in that clip. Good on them for seeing the light that Devin and I were shining on them during the 2024 campaign, which was pay attention. This guy's not who he says he is, or he is who he says he is, but he's not who you think he is. Okay? You all weren't, those people weren't paying attention. And if they were in denial. Okay. Now, I don't think the Democratic Party should spend any time going out trying to recruit Republicans who voted for, or folks who voted Republican for not only Trump, but, Congress, the GOP. That effort should be spent, that money, those resources should be put toward re-engaging people who did not participate. There's a larger group of people that I think we can pull back into the tent by getting them out, getting them involved. And I know that a lot of people may say, well, if they didn't vote, poo-poo on them. But I think that's where the real meat is in terms of numbers. And the effort it takes to get people to flip their brain and their mindset when we've been working for, damn near a decade to get people to not think that Donald Trump was the next coming. We have a clip that we might get to today talking about Saul. And we will try to get to that. But the point I want to make is each one of those people there said something along the lines of, what I thought isn't what I got. And those are people who have made a decision that they're going to fight hard in the upcoming midterms and hopefully along the way for other elections to vote for Democrats. And what was, I thought, key, one of the keys to that segment is a number of, every one of those people said that they were going to not only vote not for Trump, if you will, but to vote down ticket Democrat, which means, I hope it means, I'm being a little bit optimistic, a little bit aspirational, just to make a point, that people are recognizing that it's not just Donald Trump, it's the GOP, it's the Republican Party. Two people said they don't even recognize it as the party that they had signed up for. If that's true, and there's some, meandering river through the Republican voting bloc that sees that and is willing to act on that, then that's a good sign. I'm not being a hopeful or any of that. I'm just saying that that's a good sign. If people are not, if they're recognizing that it's not just solely Donald Trump, that it's the GOP, it's the Republican Party of, as the one gentleman said, it's not recognizable. I am going to have fingers crossed hopeful. I know I just said not being hopeful, but you get my point. That people, because this goes back to what a number of guests have said. Mike Nellis said it yesterday. He said, I'm a political analyst, you're a radio host, and we both hope for good for all the people in America. And that's true, because we do. And these floods and these shootings and these other acts of nature and stupidity, we don't want to see any of that in our country. We don't. But when the right people are in office to help with navigating, particularly this flood and these crazy weather patterns, and not taking money away from groups that organizations and parts of the administration departments that are there to help. When we've got those kinds of people in office, up and down, left and right, in different states, municipalities, and on the federal level, we do better as a country. It's just proven itself out. And all this hate and dislike and sexism, racism, Christian nationalism, and privilege has gotten in the way of people thinking clearly and forward about how the country can continue to get better. It's already a great country. It's got one foot on some banana peels right now. But I would say that if there are more people like those folks that were interviewed that are feeling that way and willing to act on it, that's the part that's completing the circle. They've recognized that, hey, this ain't right. I need to do. They've recognized that what they thought was one thing is not. Maybe what they hoped for is not. Some might say, that they got what they asked for. We'll probably go down that path again over the weeks and months to come. But if they act on it like those people did, if that's any kind of a crack whatsoever, then that's a good thing. And it's a good thing not just for the Democratic Party. It's a good thing for the country. And I'm going to put that out there as something that I mentioned it yesterday, and I said, I want to do more than just talk about that clip. I'd like to be able to present it to you guys as a point for us to talk about. We got a busy morning, so I'm going to shut up and we're going to go to a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Call us to get your Care Watch right now.
800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. That's 800-741-5819.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820. Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, progressives and liberals and Democrats and Republicans and independents, come join us. Be part of our fix of this country. All right, let's hit you guys with a couple of Choose Views news items this morning, July 8th, 2025. The U.S. is setting 25% tariffs. Japan, there you go. South Korea as well. The U.S. will impose a 25% tariff on goods from South Korea and Japan starting August 1st, according to Donald Trump. The announcement leaves South Korea's levy unchanged from the original Liberation Day rate in April. Japan's, meanwhile, is up from 24%. Two nations together accounted for almost 9% of the total U.S. imports last year. Trump also is threatening an additional 10% levy on members of BRICS after leaders of those countries published a joint statement over the weekend voicing their concerns on tariffs. Did we get 90 in 90 days? I don't think we did, Devin, and that it's just another one of Trump's marketing ploys. OPEC Plus has agreed to pump more oil. The oil market was down Monday after members of OPEC Plus alliance said they would pump an additional 548,000 barrels daily beginning in August. The decision raises concerns about oversupply, just as U.S. tariffs fan fears about the demand outlook. According to Bloomberg, the figures represent 137,000 more barrels per day than analysts expected. The increased production could contribute to lowering prices, according to the New York Times, but experts believe it will shift the market supply in such a way that it outweighs the demand for the latter half of 2025. So that could impact prices up. But if our supply if there's less demand for American supply, that could have a repercussion as well. Online shopping slows dramatically. E-commerce is experiencing a major disruption due to U.S. tariffs in what one industry expert calls, quote, the first widespread pullback in over a decade. Online purchases for home delivery saw double-digit percentage declines year after year over major categories, and this new survey does show that retailers are grappling with an uptick in returns as delivery costs have increased. So there you go. The impact of late career job loss. And this is interesting. Late career layoffs and buyouts are changing what retirement looks like for older workers. The median duration of unemployment for job seekers aged 55 to 64 is nearly 26 weeks. Compared with 19 weeks for individuals aged 25 to 34, according to the Wall Street Journal. Citing recent U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data, while job growth proved better than expected in June, economic uncertainty has slowed hiring and caused many older workers to dip, unfortunately, into their savings earlier than planned. And they are finding employment that they have accepted pay cuts as high as 11% if they are finding employment. So there you go, guys. A couple of Choose Views news items on this July 8th, 2025. Make your way over to heartlandsignal.com and check out a couple of our clips that we have there on Heartland Signal on X. One in particular you want to lean into is how Wisconsin leaders are reacting to the state Supreme Court striking down the 168-year-old abortion ban. That is a upcoming conversation that the four liberal justices made it clear that they wanted to keep the ability for abortion to be legal in the state of Wisconsin. And then another clip that you guys want to check out, U.S. Representative Debbie Dingell in Michigan. What am I worried about is a quote, I'm worried about people who are going to lose their health care. I'm worried about people who aren't going to go to the doctor because they simply cannot afford it. And what we're going to see are more people in emergency rooms, and emergency rooms being understaffed already are going to see backups. So 2 great clips over at Heartland Signal that you want to check out at our website, ourheartlandsignal.com. So check us out there. And let's see. Should we do? We could grab a couple calls. Here are a couple of quick hot items. As you guys saw, Trump spent the weekend golfing and eating ice cream as people were dealing with the floods in Texas. In terms of some of the news headlines, investigation is being demanded into if Trump cuts into the National Weather Service actually got people killed during the flood in Texas. And a bright spot item is a federal judge blocks a big, beautiful bill from defunding Planned Parenthood. We'll get into that in a little bit as the show goes along. But Devin, let's go ahead and grab a couple quick calls. Let's talk with Andrew from Detroit. Hey, good morning, Andrew. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. First thing I want to say, a comment about the Bloomberg report.
Yes.
Mikey Bloomberg needs to just shut his mouth until he starts pumping some money into the Democratic Party. I don't care what you got to say. Second of all, I want to disagree with you on people jumping out of the Republican Party over things they're starting to see and flooding and the hospitals closing. They're just going to find somebody else that's going to help them hate, because that's what they do. They're racist. They hate. They want to hurt people. They're vicious, and they will look for somebody who will lead them and help them believe that what they're doing is right.
Well, I think
there's always going to be people in the margins, but by and large, they're not moving, especially MAGA.
Well, I think, and listen, I'm not disagreeing or agreeing with anything that was said in that report, other than pointing out that people said it. And I think that if there are people who realize that they got bamboozled, and whether it was willful ignorance, whether it was their hate, all the things that we could put out there, Andrew, what I do have to speak to, I believe, is that there are people who have seen the light. Now, the question is, and the reason that I played this clip isn't because they just said, I don't like Trump, I don't, he's awful and that sort of thing. Because to your point, they might just find someplace else or someone else to place their anger and hate with. These people were ones that said that, and they made a decision that they're going to vote straight Democratic ticket because they see that it's not just Trump, that it's the Republican Party. That's why I felt that it would be interesting to present that to you guys, because they are ones that are not just saying I hate Trump. They're saying I don't like Trump, and I don't have a connection to the Republican Party, and I'm voting straight Democratic ticket. Remember how I've said over the year plus now that it's going the full mile? Well, these people sound like those that are trying to go, or at least they're saying they're going to go the full mile, and so, I have to use the word hopefully. They are being true to themselves, and that they're going to act on that. But as I said, as part of that clip, the Democratic Party can't waste any time on trying to get those people. They need to work on getting the people who did not participate. I think that's where the real meat is as we go forward.
Because I don't know that they're going to change where they watch their news coming from or their favorite voices like Hannity and whatever. I can't see them doing that. They may be saying this. I
know.
Sometimes in the morning, and you can tell by the way they talk. They don't listen to anything else. They are so illiterate about anything going on in the country. It's horrible.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Andrew. I carefully touched that third rail of hope in that space. So I'm with you, man. Andrew, thank you so much for calling, as always. We appreciate it.
Sorry to get you riled up for a second.
No, man, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you kind of kicked me in the shin and said, "Come on, Chew."
Have a great day.
Thank you, Andrew. Have a great day. Guys, bye-bye. I love Andrew because, as you guys know by now, he's been in the game for a long time, and he's done it. He's seen a lot of things over his years, and I appreciate his contribution. Let's go to Big Art real quickly. Hey, Big Art, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Rich. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. Good to hear your voice. You doing okay?
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm doing the best I can with that.
Good,
you know?
Good. What's going on this morning?
Good days, bad days. Unfortunately, a few more bad days than I'd like. But I was telling Devin, I'm just going to make this quick because I know you got a busy schedule this morning. Last night, I was kind of appalled to see Benjamin Netanyahu nominate Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, formally do it. I'm like, here's a man who's orchestrating a genocide of the Palestinian people with the backing of the United States government. And he's nominating this buffoon for the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm like, okay, what has Donald Trump done to promote peace throughout this world? And what has he done to promote peace between serious talks, serious peace between Russia and Ukraine?
Yep.
And you know, what has he done to you know, they just posture and put on a TV show and try and control the narrative all the time. When are you going to do something serious and say, look, stop killing these people?
Yep.
You get what Hamas did on October 7th was horrific. It most certainly was, sir. And I wish that hadn't happened. But that does not justify you killing tens of thousands of women and children and Palestinians.
Not at all.
Because of it. It doesn't justify it. Who are you to nominate someone for a peace prize and you're committing genocide?
Well, they needed to have the backside of that deal. Hey, I'm going to drop some bombs on Iran, and you're going to nominate me for the Nobel Peace Prize. And and that's our deal. I mean, I'm sure there were other things that they talked about that they're going to do. Don't be surprised if something else comes down the pike. But that's where that's coming from. I mean, these are two guys that are warmongers. Trump pretends that he's not a violent-minded person when, in fact, when you look at the things that Trump's been accused of and convicted of, or at least adjudicated in the favor of the plaintiff, here in the United States, they all have a tinge of violence to them. They all have a tinge of abuse / take advantage of others. That's not a peaceful person. That's not someone that comes from a position of peace. When the things and that's just stuff here domestically. And let's not get into all the other stuff because we don't have all the time in the world today.
Yeah, we'd be forever.
But Big Art, I want to come back to your core point. Who in the heck do they think they are? Nominating someone like this, nominating someone like that for a peace acknowledgement, for a peace prize. It blows in the face of
the arrogance. The arrogance is just astounding.
I'm gonna be even more brutal and say this is straight up white male privilege. There you go.
Oh, to the extreme. I was going to say the same thing.
It is.
It's not just white male privilege. It is rich man's privilege.
It's rich man's privilege. So
to get away with doing, actually literally committing murder, in this case, genocide.
Yep.
Look what Trump is doing as far as funding ICE now. It's like you have the nerve to cut off, to throw all these people, hardworking people, off their jobs. Maybe some of them a lot of people are undocumented. But you know what? It's a miracle, Rich. It's a miracle that all the white people here in the United States are all documented. They must be. that none of them commit crime.
You mean some of those folks that are here from European countries that are fully documented and all their papers are in line?
All the Caucasian people over the last 10, 20 years who have come here 30 years, they're all documented, Rich, and they never commit any crimes. There's no Irish mob.
No.
There's no Russian mob. There's just pick any country.
Yeah,
and it's like it's a miracle, Rich.
I know.
I'm being sarcastic.
I know you are, but the sarcasm is appropriate in this moment because many of us have been saying that, and so I appreciate you bringing it this morning. We got to hit this break, Big Art. Appreciate your call as always. Sending out the best energy I can to you in terms of having better days. I appreciate it. Absolutely,
I appreciate it.
You be well, right. Okay?
You too. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye. Hey, y'all. Listen. Whoa. Big Art's a big fan of WCPT. So those who listen and follow, send Big Art some good love, okay? He deserves it. He's a guy that's been in the fight all his life. So send him some good love, send him some good energy, and let him know you care. All right, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
Nathaniel George Booker, also known as the mayor of the village of Maywood, Illinois.
We have to stop walking in fear. There's nothing about this administration that's walking in fear, and energy has to match energy. And I feel like the fear and the concern that we're operating in versus the unity and coming together is truly what our strength is. There's so many opportunities to become more community engaged. And whether that be via virtual Zooms that are taking place in your communities, or whether those be in-person community meetings, you've got to stand up together. And nothing is done in a silo. So I tell people all the time, the dream work makes the team work is a real thing. And we've got to, as a community, as a country, come together more. And that will drive out the fear. That will drive out the hate because there's power in numbers.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms at times here for today with partial sunshine developing and a high in the upper 80s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 70. By Wednesday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Partial sunshine develops a high around 85. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 72.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to the show. So, yeah, I got a busy morning. We're going to have our guest on in a little bit, but I like what Big Art said about that. You know, we have a lot of people who probably are shocked, and appropriately so, that one hardliner very possibly committed criminal activities known as Netanyahu, nominating another one, Donald Trump, for the Nobel Peace Prize. He wants that, meaning Trump, more than he wants his next breath of fresh air, because he wants to be looked at as this sort of king-made dictator. That's, you can't be a dictator and be a peacemaker at the same time. There's something not congruent about them. I was struggling with how I was going to say that without, I try not to ruffle you guys' feathers too much. I mean, every now and again it's going to happen. But, you can't be a dictator or an aspiring dictator and also a peacemaker. I don't think it's the two run together. They're not something that what is the phrase, oil and water kind of situation. But that being said, here we are. And these two are, just hardliners that there's nothing peaceful about them when I see them. There's nothing that they don't seem at peace themselves. And they sure as heck don't represent ones that present peace. So there you go. All right. We have, fortunately, really cool people that like to be on our show. And we have been fortunate to have some folks that are paying attention to the future, paying attention to what's coming down the pike. in terms of events and anniversaries. And next year, you guys know, is a 250-year anniversary of this country. And I hate that we have the dude in office as president that will be leading all the pomp and circumstance behind it, because it's going to be, it's Trump. But in that process, we have a couple of folks who are a big part of what's called 51 Steps to Freedom. And it's a really cool conversation to have about where we are headed in next year, 2026, but more importantly, talking about things that are going on in and around Washington, D.C., and the conversation around the history of that community, but also some of the historical conversations around the monuments and all the things that are, I guess you could say, sort of our staple things of Washington, D.C. So with us this morning are two folks that are leading the charge in that space, H. Leonards, known as H, and Tracy Halliday, co-founders of 51 Steps to Freedom. Good morning. Welcome to Choose Views. How are you guys doing this morning?
Good morning. We're doing great, and I am so honored to talk to you, and you are in my favorite city in the world. So I'm envious. I'm not exaggerating. I love Chicago.
Well, we thank you both so much, and let me just set the table so that I don't do the thing that I always work hard not to do, and that's to talk over our guest. So to that end, let me set the table and have you both introduce yourself. Why don't we start with you, H, and then we'll shift to Tracy. H, tell us a little bit about your background. And of course, we'll hand the baton off to Tracy after that. So go for it, guys.
I grew up in Indiana, in Lafayette.
All right.
And I came to Washington to help my country. I tried to join the Marines. The first year women were allowed in, and in my hometown, they did not want women in the military. So I was rejected 3 times, not because they wanted to reject me, but because they didn't want women there, so they lost my paperwork. So I said, God's taking me to Washington, and I've been here ever since, helping my country.
There you go. Tracy.
I was born and raised in New York, and I met H working in technology, which is why you'll see how this is all connected. And we both work in D.C. H founded O Museum in the Mansion, and I am the executive director there. And this program started there in that vein.
Well,
I think H will probably tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have just great, wonderful histories, and the backgrounds of each of you are so fascinating, and the work that you've done. And we could talk for hours about everything from your work with Rosa, your work in talking about Rosa Parks and the O, and just on and on. But let's dive into talking about 51 Steps to Freedom and telling our audience across the country a little bit more about 51 Steps to Freedom.
Sure. So most people are wondering what it is. So it's a groundbreaking citywide digital experience, and it brings American history to life right where it happened, in the palm of your hand. It spans 51 sites across Washington, D.C., with over 300 stories, and it tells the stories from monuments to museums to homes, churches, burial grounds, parks, you name it. It's all across the city. But what's interesting and different is we use storytelling, music, and immersive technology to uncover these untold stories of change makers who have helped shape our country and our nation. So together, these stories reveal what binds us together and invites every visitor to engage with the ideals of liberty and opportunity in a personal and meaningful way. It sort of draws you into the story using technology. So for anybody that doesn't know, augmented reality is a type of technology that adds digital content over the real world, like images and sounds, animations, all around you, and it blends the physical and digital worlds so you see them both at the same time, right through your phone or your tablet. It's really amazing and very engaging and fun. So it's kind of like, oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, Tracy. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, if you've ever done Pokemon Go or something like that, that was sort of the genesis. That's what this feels like. There's gaming involved. There's storytelling involved, but it's all right on your tablet or your phone.
So the first thing that comes to mind, and H, you can take the baton on this one. The first thing that comes to mind is how folks in different age groups or different generations are going to navigate technology like this. Help us out there, because I know there's some people that are probably asking that question. So hit us with that one.
That's a great question, and we have different modes and levels of how to take the tour. You can do it through your phone, and your grandchildren and your children are going to help you with that. You can take it through an audio tour, which is much more traditional. We have a book about it. You can go to the website and learn more. So we have different levels of how you can take the tour, but the augmented reality portion of it is so much fun. Once your children show you how to do it, you will be so excited to learn history from a different level. It makes it more engaging, and it comes from the heart. Wow. And that's really the purpose of the tour, is to look at history through the lessons it teaches, but it reaches your heart, and it teaches you at every stop is totally different, but every stop, the connecting force behind it is at how similar we are as a country, although we look at things differently.
Well, and so thank you for that intro to it, Tracy, and then H, helping folks who might be looking at this and saying, "Dang, this sounds interesting," but I might be a little bit intimidated by the utilization of the technology. So that's good to know that it, to use the phrase, is going to be or is user friendly. So I have to ask the dumb question, because it's the dumb question. Why did you guys do this? What was, like, you're sitting around having a glass of wine, looking and like going, "Oh, I got an idea. I'm going to call up H and go," this is Tracy talking. "I'm going to call up H and go, 'Yo, Tracy, I got this idea.'" And then H goes back to Tracy. "Tracy, that's not a bad idea. What happened?" I mean, help us understand this, y'all.
Actually, that's exactly how it happened. You got it. But that's how the kernels of all ideas comes from sharing time together. And Mrs. Civil rights icon Mrs. Parks lived with me here at the O Museum in the Mansion for nearly a decade. And when she passed, I wanted to create a program to instill the lessons that she taught me based on her principles of seizing the moment and changing one heart at a time. So this project began as a museum program and quickly expanded to a citywide project. It's a legacy project powered by hundreds of passionate volunteers, and we'd like some of you listening out there to come and help us. We can do it virtually. You have so many stories to tell also, but it includes historians all working since 2020 to make history come alive in the palm of your hand and to teach lessons in that history telling.
There are 51 steps, and I didn't want to print every one of them out, but just it's an amazing. So let me back up. You said earlier, H, how much you love Chicago, and of course I love Chicago. I also love Washington, D.C. and the metropolitan area for a lot of reasons. Some of it's just historical with my brother-in-law and sister and their time there and the military and all that other stuff, and then just the history of the country there. But so much of what is in Washington, D.C. is historical about the country, but it also is one of the places that you can go in the nation to get so much history if you are, culturally African American, or if you are, part of the enslavement history of the country. So much of it is told in D.C., and so much of it is told as it relates to your 51 steps. And that's what seems so captivating to me. Am I off cue there, or am I getting close to the bullseye?
You're part of this. You get the soul of what we are creating. You are a visionary, and that's the essence of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Tracy, with the 51 steps and the work that it highlights a lot of hidden figures. It highlights a lot of people that shaped the country that no one knows about, or even areas. Like let me position it this way. my wife and I have done the night tour in D.C. And I recommend anybody that goes to Washington, D.C. to do the night tour. But what this is doing is, it's, to your point, in the palm of your hand or at the tip of your fingers. It's pointing out things that that most folks don't even know about, that are part of American history in Washington, D.C. So illuminate that a little bit more.
Well, we're taking you all around the city. So there are some stops on the mall, but what's really great and really interesting and points to what you're talking about is that we're taking you to other lesser known parts, which is where history is, right? All of us have history in our backyard, and we're bringing that to life right where you are. So if you're, over in DuPont Circle for the day, you can do a module there. So if you're over in Anacostia, you can do a module there. You want to learn about go-go? That's the origins of DC music, and it's sampled all over. Like so many songs that Salt and Pepper, et cetera, have used the essence of go-go.
Yep.
Go to Anacostia. We have a bunch of stops in Anacostia. In fact, you'll hear right outside the Go-Go Museum about Chuck Brown, about the origins of music, and it's so cool. Just the way it you bring up your phone, and all of a sudden you'll be faced in front of the Go-Go Museum, and you can tap these bongos, and it's amazing. It just sort of launches that experience for you to learn about these untold stories in music, sports. It's really fun, and it's engaging. If you go over, while you're in Anacostia and you go over to Frederick Douglass's home, rock star, my favorite rock star on the trail, he is amazing, and you get to see him at 3 different stages of his life. We brought him to life. He actually tells you his own story at 3 different stages of his life, about how he went and fought for women's rights. He was a rock star. He did kinds of things back then that you just wouldn't even think to do. It was crazy. He was so brave and resilient, and it just is amazing. All of these stories are there for us to learn and engage with.
Yeah, and H, you can speak to this because of your work and particularly when it comes to Rosa Parks. I talked to a good friend of mine yesterday. He and I were going on about our fathers. This friend of mine is African American male, and we were talking about the strength of our fathers and black men that grew up in the rural South of the United States of America, and how they had to just be made of steel to endure post-enslavement and Jim Crow and all the rest. And it's not to denigrate any other community, but we were speaking to the appreciation to having such strong fathers, and how they were unique. And when I think about Rosa Parks as an example, and think about other people that were part of the quote-unquote civil rights movement, I think about it from the perspective of, today we have a lot of people running around pretending that they're strong or thinking that they're strong, and they may be, but those folks, those civil rights fighters, those, the folks that were the freedom riders, that are a unique part of our history, and they were some really strong people. And I know that you've come across some amazing stories in your time to recognize that. And that's the other part of what the Steps on the Trail is doing, is it's highlighting some of the strength of the people who were unknown and may not have ever gotten any other recognition.
And that's what is so extraordinary. They did certain things in their lives because it was the right thing to do, not to become famous. And Mrs. Parks is an example of that. She never intended what she did to become the icon for standing up for your rights like she did. But some of the stories of resilience are really extraordinary, like the founder of Georgetown University, who was famous for bringing it into the era it's in now, was a former enslaved man. When he became the president, no one knew he was black. He kept that a secret. And he became the first black Jesuit priest. So we tell his story of resilience and strength. And it's super strength that we all need today. The stories that we're going through now require the strength of the people we stand on their shoulders, and learning from them on how to survive. For example, people don't know that Frederick Douglass was married to a white woman, his second wife. If he could do that in the 1880s, we can do anything today if we're focused on our mission and our vision and approaching people from the heart, not from the intellect. And that's what you do in your show.
Thank you so much for saying that. I'm to be in a sentence from someone with your background and your historical observations with Frederick Douglass is my father probably just sat up in his grave and cheered, and so did my mother. So thank you for saying those words. I'm fascinated by the data. What data is not the right word, the technological part of this. Because, H, you've been responsible for a few dollars of equipment and resources and services being distributed and put out there for folks to be able to take advantage of. Talk a little bit about that. I know you're not one to talk about yourself a lot, but let our listeners know kind of how you've leaned in to make technology accessible to as many people as possible.
Tracy, I'm going to let you answer that because I don't talk about myself.
There you go.
You're right. Shy and introverted.
She got you on that one, Tracy.
She's one of our unsung heroes, right?
There
she
you
does
go.
do a lot. So when we were in technology, just I'm going to reference just what you were talking about. Together, we worked for a computer networking firm, and H created the first foundation for that particular firm that actually gave back, and that's what she's talking about. She had been able to rally the troops and sort of start corporations thinking about giving back, and that was really I'm speaking for you, H, but it was really important to her. It's still important to her, and it's what drives us to do this tour and to bring these stories to light for everyone. It's about unity. It's about helping each other and lifting each other up.
Right now, one of the most important things, and thank you for that, Tracy. Right now, one of the most important things that we can do as a community, and I've been talking with H. Leonard's and, Tracy Halliday of 51 Steps to Freedom. One of the most important things that we can do, I believe, is to reach out to folks who, in this crazy time that we're in, may have put themselves, for whatever reason, into a silo, feeling like there's no one there that's to support them, to help them navigate through this craziness. And this technology, this that you guys have put together, is a way to do it and inform people. But in a broader sense, if we pull the lens back a little bit, I think that's a superpower right now that we have to embrace as folks that want to be on the correct side of fixing the problem that we have right now in front of us, and that's this dictatorial, autocratic leadership. Well, I'm not even going to call it leadership, but people in place. Feigning leadership. So I think that's what connectivity is all about right now. That's why being connected, that's why reaching out is so important, and finding ways to get people involved in the process, whether it be protests, whether it be rallies, whatever the case may be. Both of you guys, give us a sense of what your thoughts are in that space.
So another option in what we're doing is we've created Voices for Change, where we're working with high school students to teach them storytelling, to teach them how to use augmented reality and videos to tell stories. And we're working successfully with students around the country. They are helping us tell the stories that we're creating. So one of the stories is about the Red Summer that was created by a high school juniors and seniors in a local school in Washington, D.C. So any of you listening out there that have children that want to learn how to make augmented reality and are interested in science and interested in creativity and storytelling and changing people's hearts, contact us at 51stepstofreedom.org. And any of you that want to get a ticket to come to Washington, and this is 24/7. You can do it at 3 a.m, and at nighttime, this tour is electric. We're bringing history to the streets. We're bringing it out of the museum so anybody can see it. Go to 51stepstofreedom.org/tickets.
Tracy, give us one last little bump before we take off.
Well, I want to talk about the connection that you were talking about between history and technology, because people, it seems like doesn't make sense, right? Because this is like breaking, cutting edge technology that we're using to tell these stories, but it's a Sankofa project. So we are asking people and giving them an opportunity to do something totally different so that they can learn from the past and learn how we're so similar and that we can find some common ground to chart a path forward together. That's the essence of what we're doing. We are telling stories of resilience, perseverance, opportunity, and hope. And what we want is we want people to learn and be inspired. And this is a way where we can do it, and it is fun, and it is engaging, and it is different. So we hope that everybody will come and take the trail. Again, to reiterate what H said, it's 51stepstofreedom.org/tickets. It's pay what you can. If you can afford to put down a few dollars, it just helps to go and build the rest of the trail. And we really appreciate the support.
Let me ask you guys this question as I know we're wrapping up, but are you doing anything in terms of the fundraising efforts or anything in that space? I mean, because I'm such a believer and this so excites me what you're doing. What, if anything, are you guys doing in that sort of fundraising space?
We're reaching out to corporations. We're reaching out to corporations asking for their assistance to make it part of their project to amplify how great our nation is. So 51 Steps to Freedom stands for 50 states, one nation.
Wow. That's
And if you go to 51stepstofreedom.org, you can / it to sponsorships and take a look there. We need your help.
Yeah.
Chicago.
Chicago.
And there are tons of ways to get involved.
Yeah, and that's what I always want to give our guests opportunities to talk about how people can get involved, how they can find you, because I've learned that the more we get people connected and out and doing things, the more that we are able to solve some of this craziness that we're all dealing with. I am so honored to have both of you guys with us, H. Leonards and Tracy Halliday, co-founders of 51 Steps to Freedom. Augmented reality, that's a new word, new phrase, new technology, thought process that's now in Richard Chu's brain. And I'm going to be one of the folks that's leaning into this and learning more about a city that I love. But I thank you two women for taking the time to be with us, but more importantly, for taking the time to put something together that's going to benefit, as you said, all of the nation. So thank you for both for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
All right, guys. Have a great...
Looking forward.
Yes, looking forward. Exactly right, H. Thank you guys for being with us. And we'll connect again and have you back on the show again sometime. Would that work for you guys?
That would be awesome.
Of course.
All right. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, guys, have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All righty. Well, I got to say that the uh-oh. We good? It's okay. Every now and again, we have a technology glitch, but that was not one. Those two ladies have it together. H. Leonards and Tracy Halliday from 51 Steps to Freedom. Check out their site. It'll blow you away. It will. I will tell you, go there, sign up. Make sure you make a contribution to the work that they're doing. It will blow you away, and it'll be beneficial. It will be beneficial in a way that, like they both said, is generational. And that, I think, right now is so critically important as we're trying to make sure that we keep telling our histories and we keep talking about those interconnected relationships that we have. Let's take a break. It's the top of the hour, 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer ignore. Find the Children is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted vehicle, running or not. Call 1-800-775-5622. We guarantee that you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast, free pickup with 24-hour response. Call 1-800-775-5622. Find the Children provides crucial resources to help find missing children and educational materials to teach kids how to recognize and avoid predators. Our recovery programs have a proven track record of reuniting kids with their families. It's time to act. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Help us build a world where every child is safe. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-775-5622. Together, we can bring these kids home safely. This advertisement was paid for by Cars R Us and Find the Children.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Trying to quit smoking? Dr. David Burns of the American Lung Association says you should have a plan, including a quit date that doesn't clash with a time of high stress at work or at home.
During the time that you're quitting, you want to try to avoid those circumstances and environments where you have been likely to smoke in the past.
Don't ignore the aids at your local pharmacy that might really help.
There are over-the-counter and prescription medications that can really substantially enhance the likelihood of your quitting. In particular, over-the-counter nicotine patches and gum can make a difference in terms of the likelihood of your successful cessation. And I would recommend that people think about using those as part of their cessation attempt.
There are times when a prescription antidepressant may help the effort. Talk with your doctor. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
Give your liver the support it needs with Active Liver. Go to newnordicusa.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New you, new Nordic.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Volunteers have teamed up to clear trees downed by flood waters in areas like Central Point, Texas. In an AP interview, Project Grit volunteer Daniel Carlton, a disabled veteran, says helping with recovery and cleanup in Texas feels like the right thing to do.
My family's been coming to hunt to go camp with our children for the last 15 years. We've known some people who have perished in the flood. You know, we have friends within the camp community who still can't find their daughters. And so, of course, without questions, if you get here, you show up and you do whatever you can.
Firefighters from Mexico have also joined efforts. In Kerrville, Texas, Jesus Gomez, a firefighter from Acuña, Mexico, says they helped recover the body of a victim as they are trained to do.
It's a lot of debris, very heavy stuff, and removing by hand, it's tough. There are some parts that heavy equipment can get into there, and we need to start removing by hand.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is back in Kern County this afternoon and will hold a news conference later in the day. Americans are more likely to want the government to focus on the high cost of childcare and improving health outcomes for pregnant women rather than the country's falling birth rate. That's according to a new poll from the AP Nork Center for Public Affairs Research. While the Trump administration explores new ways to encourage Americans to have more babies, the poll found that few U.S. adults see this as a priority. The Justice Department has acknowledged that Jeffrey Epstein did not maintain a client list, despite Attorney General Pam Bondi suggesting in a Fox News interview earlier this year that such a document was sitting on her desk. The department also said no more files related to the sex trafficking investigation would be made public. This is AP News. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports on Israeli army deaths and Palestinian casualties in Gaza.
The Israeli military says 5 soldiers have been killed in an attack in Gaza, while health officials in the Palestinian territory say 18 people were killed in Israeli strikes. An Israeli security official says explosive devices were detonated against the soldiers during an operation in the Beit Hanun area in northern Gaza, which was an early target of the war and an area where Israel has repeatedly fought regrouping militants. Fighters also opened fire on the forces who were evacuating the wounded soldiers, the official adds. The bloodshed came as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is visiting the White House for talks with President Donald Trump about a ceasefire arrangement. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
More stories at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms at times here for today, with partial sunshine developing and a high in the upper 80s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 70. By Wednesday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Partial sunshine develops, a high around 85. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 72.
Hey, Chicago. Hal Sparks is coming back to Chicago for a live show on Saturday, July 12th. He'll be back at Max and Benny's in Northbrook. The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, airs Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Guess what? Johnny Million would join him, but most of all, he wants to talk with you about everything going on right now. Tickets are on sale at heartlandsignal.com/WCPT820. Get yours now before they're gone. This remote broadcast is made possible by Max and Benny's Restaurant, Deli, and Bakery.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, progressives, liberals, Democrats, Republicans, independents, and everybody that wants to come into our tent and do some work. Welcome back. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, 40th Ward Committee person Maggie O'Keefe will be in for Joan Esposito, and her guests will include Noah Millman, author of the newsletter Gideon Substack, film and theater critic at Modern Age, and New York Times guest essayist. That's a lot to say. Project 50 Senior Advisor Terry Cosgrove and Project 50 Executive Director Brian Howard, fundraiser and activist Liz Manella, Senator, yes, this is right, Tammy Duckworth, Lake County Treasurer Holly Kim, Katrina Shanklin, Executive Director of Rust Belt Rising and former member of the Wisconsin State Assembly, and, of course, our own Patty Vasquez. Live, Local, and Progressive today, weekdays, of course, 2 to 5. Here on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years. And tonight on Driving It Home, Patty will be joined by stand-up comedian Jaime De Leon and WHBY Out of the Box host Ben Kamenos with a Wisconsin update. And that's, yes, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. Weekdays 5 to 7, WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. There you go. You might want to tune in to Choose Views tomorrow because we will have Co-Executive Director of Center for Popular Democracy, Demario Cooper. Choose Views contributor, who would that be? None other than Kurt Mullett, a.k.a. Hoosier Blue 63. And in studio with me will be Kimberly Gunther, Chief Impact Officer with the United Way of Metro Chicago on the United Way's Neighborhood Network Initiative. That's who will be with us tomorrow. So looking forward to it. But with us today is our very own co-host of the family meeting and good friend and colleague, Michelle Peltier with Moments with Michelle. Good morning, Michelle. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard Chew.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How are you? I'm good. I'm good.
Doing great. All right. Cool. Well, listen, I don't know if you heard part of the segment with H. Leonard's and Tracy Halliday talking about 51 Steps to Freedom, but wow, what an interesting technology about American history, and that I thought that was really fascinating.
I'm sitting here with my mouth open because my mouth was open the most of the time that they were on. Because where do you find these people? That was amazing.
Wasn't she? They both were flat out amazing.
They were amazing. Yeah, I wanna help them raise money.
Yeah, I know that. That's why I was like, what do you? You saw how I kind of went like, let me stop and ask this question because everybody on the planet needs to know about this.
Right?
You know, that's what hit my brain. Gosh. I was like, there is nobody if they really love America, and whether it be an American citizen, someone that's migrated here, that's getting their paperwork together and not getting snatched by ICE as they're trying to do the right doggone thing, or someone that's in another country looking to come to America. 51 Steps to Freedom is something that everybody should have access to and be looking at as part of the D.C. metropolitan history, but also that overlay for the rest of the country. I just think it's fascinating.
I agree. I'm going, when we hang up, I'm going to the website.
Yeah.
I'm serious. It was amazing. Yeah.
I know what you mean. So you guys, Michelle is is good at a lot of things, but one of the things she's good at is observing like what's going on and then saying, how do I want to approach this? How do I want to assess this? And in her professional life of analyzing things from a business perspective, she has a unique way of sort of assembling thoughts on this. And this morning, she's got some thoughts that you guys might want to hear about enabling, and why she thinks it's happening, and what are some of the things that we can try to do about it. So Michelle, take it away.
So, thank you, Richard. Yes, I am a self-proclaimed observer of human behavior. It's one of the favorite things about me, I think. And it's one of the things that a lot of my friends don't like, because I'm a who, what, when, where, why. Why? And it's just part of who I am. So before I start, I want to read the definition of enabling, and then I'll get to my point. Is that okay?
Sure.
The standard definition is to enable someone means to provide them with the means, opportunity, or authority to do something, essentially making it possible for them to act or achieve a particular goal. Now, what is negative enabling? Negative enabling involves actions that unintentionally support or perpetrate harmful behaviors, often shielding someone from the natural consequences of their actions. I say that to say DT should have been in jail years ago, right?
Yep, no doubt.
And why isn't he? Because every system in our government is enabling him, and the American people are enabling him. And I think now, as a person who has had addiction in her family, I am clear about what negative enabling can do. So I have had several relatives who have suffered with addiction, and as a family, instead of confronting it and dealing with it as a family, we enabled that behavior because we thought that they would get better on their own. Mm-hmm. And when you're surrounded by people who care about you or who work with you or who whatever, they continue to let you go down this path. They're not making it any better for themselves, and they're not making it any better for that person. So I feel like that's where we are in this country right now. We are, and I mean we, because I just think that some of us do it more than others, but we are enabling this administration by giving it air and by continually acting surprised when he does crazy stuff, or he stands behind a podium and talks nonsensical. What we should do is just stop breathing life into it. I think if as much as we can, I mean, we can't do anything about the Supreme Court. We can't do anything about the mainstream media, but we can control how we react to it. I think the protests are appropriate, absolutely. But I think in the way we talk about that man and that administration needs to change, right? We just need to acknowledge that I'm sorry, I almost used some bad language, that person doesn't care about us, doesn't care about this country, and just doesn't really care. That's it. And so we should just stop caring about him and his behavior and what he does. And we need to focus on healing as a nation, because even when this time is over, Richard, because he's going to go, right? He's going to go.
He will.
This situation, the last thing we want is for this situation to be buried. This feeling, this angst, this anxiety, this frustration that we feel as a country. I think now that more people are recognizing the racial divide in this country. You and I both know that that's what the whole issue is, right?
Yep.
And so we need to focus on fixing that, because we can't fix him.
No.
Right? We can't change anything he's doing. We can fight it as much as we can, write letters, make calls, like I've said before, but we have to change our behavior. We have to stop reacting to this man because it feeds him.
Yeah.
It feeds him.
One of the things that comes to mind, actually a couple things come to mind, but one that I want to speak to in this moment, to what you just said, is refocusing on us, refocusing on what we can do, and why that in and of itself is a way to fix not him, but fix the things that he is causing. Because the more that we focus on us, and that's not a statement about being selfish. It's about being self-preserving. And I know, part of my message is to talk about or to highlight what's going on. And then here's where we are now. How do we go forward from that reality? It's inevitable that we're going to talk about him, or talk about the administration, or talk about things that are going on, because it is where it is part of our reality. But the other side of that, or the other probably more important side to what you're saying, is we've got to spend more time working on fixing us, because that's part of part of the goal with Trump and Trumpism and this administration at large is to have people doubting themselves, feeling less about themselves, feeling like they're not worth a darn. And the more that people start to feel that way, a couple things will probably happen. One, people will shut down, or the other thing is they'll lash out to those who they feel are the cause for their despair, when in fact the cause for their despair is this dude in the White House and his administration and all his minion. So taking care of ourselves is critically important. Having messaging around strengthening us, and it can be something as maybe obtuse as tying into a group like 51 Steps to Freedom to kind of, what's the word, to sort of replace the history that they're trying to take away and tear apart from us. Plug into something like that, because that's feeding you. That's feeding an improvement of you. And there's so many other tools, and that's, I guess I keep repeating myself, but for a good reason, why I'm such an advocate of people finding groups and organizations to be a part of in this process. But yeah, you nailed it when you said that we do talk about him too much. I'll be the first to admit, we talk about him too much, and it's part of, unfortunately, where we are. And
I wouldn't necessarily say it's too much.
Okay.
But it's the way we talk about it.
So you're saying, are you saying that we can talk about him a lot, but we have to talk about it from a different perspective?
A different perspective. We give him his power. So I think that of those of us who are struggling maybe with people in our lives who are struggling with their relationship, if you will, with him, that we have to recognize that they are going through some things too. I mean, enabling is about fear. It's about shame. You don't want to admit that this person is awful and you're connected to them. But it's on the flip side of that, it's also about acceptance, right? Some of these people want to be accepted by this administration. I just think that the way we talk about it is important. But I think more importantly that we should talk to each other about how we move from here. I think the focus should be on healing this country. We have to have conversations about what that healing looks like.
Because a lot of people are hurting, but this is the one thing that can't happen. I know that you have huge observations on this. People can't put their heads in the proverbial sand right now.
Right.
That's the worst thing to do. There's a difference between not talking about Trump, and in a way that gives him more power, which we can't do and we won't do. I'm going to drag his behind through the mud every single day that I can, because that's my way of saying, no, dude, I'm dragging you today. I'm dragging you every time I can. At the same time, there's a lot of people who want to just put their heads in the sand and say, well, that's for somebody else to fix, or I don't want to deal with it. And I think that's I'd rather talk about him a lot than not acknowledge that he exists and what he's doing is hurting this country, and his minion and are hurting this country. Because I think when you bury your head, you are enabling, and maybe you've got some seasoning to add to that.
Absolutely. I call that the ostrich syndrome. Put your head in the sand, waiting for everything to go away, and then you pop your head back out again. I agree totally. I guess my I think that it's more important. Here's my fear, Richard. My fear is when this time passes and we don't do the work, we're going to be right back here in 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't be here anymore, but this is an opportunity because everything's bubbling to the top now. We can actually, not you and me, we've seen it since we got here on the planet, but there are the other we's that are just now recognizing how bad our history is and what we need to do to fix it. And I think that this is an opportunity for us to really right the ship, whatever that looks like. I don't want to go back to what it was before. We need to do better. And we can only do better if we work together to do that and stop focusing on that nimnut at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I just want to cut so bad this morning.
I know you do. I just listen, H.H. Leonard's and Tracy that were on before you, I know they want to. I bet you in private, I'd love to hang out with them because I know those two ladies can cut up in a good way. I just got a feeling from both of them that
I believe it too, Richard. I do too.
But let me come back to something that you said about the healing and 50 years out when we both won't be here, but only in spirit and in memory. We do have a responsibility. See, the country we talk about ostrich syndrome. Michelle was being kind in something she didn't say. And actually, H said it in the previous segment. The country wants to disconnect from the ugly part of its history, which is enslavement and the space that created between humans. Okay? The country wants to connect from that. And who is that better defined? There's a large part of America that just can't acknowledge that is it is the thing that creates the most distance between us as humans on this continent, in this country. It is. America has a tough time saying that out loud.
Yep.
And then it fosters all this other disconnection and otherism and these people and those folks. And then it turned itself into gender-based conversations about women. And the country just doesn't seem to have the courage to want to step into that mud and clean it up and then be able to move forward. I have said this for years. Until the country's able to unhinge itself from that sort of ostrich syndrome, we will keep rinsing, and repeating because we never fix the original wound, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense.
And so here we are, the country keeps enabling these bad actors to repeat that because it won't call out. Truly, Donald Trump is not he is a racist. He is a sexist.
Yeah.
He is that. He's not sort of. The women that are around him right now are perpetrating disrespect to other women, I mean, in his administration, by making it seem like what happens to women is not real. They are walking around with their heads in the sand, creating a further disconnect.
Yep.
And so that's we can't when we talk about him and the administration and the GOP at large, we have to call out their BS.
Yes.
As part of the healing. Because if we don't, then it wells up on us, it builds up on us, and then we either don't do anything about it or we lash out at the wrong time. And that's right. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we have to delicately manage ourselves, heal ourselves, work to make ourselves better. But I believe a big part of that is we had to call out the BS real time. I've been saying that for years.
We have to stop. We have to stop lying to ourselves and just talk about the reality of everything. I believe in therapy, and I say this all the time. If you have a good therapist, and if you really want to get better, it requires you to excavate yourself. You have to dig deep into yourself, deal with all of the ugly parts of who you are, because if you don't, you can't change. It's the admitting that you are this way and admitting that you want it to change is what makes change begin to occur. And that's what we need to do as a country, as a whole. We need therapy. We need to excavate and have this conversation and look at it and cry about it and be mad about it, hug it out, and then we can move on.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I believe a lot of people don't want to do that. I mean, it's one thing.
It's hard.
It's one thing.
It's hard.
It's one thing to say, "This is the way that I am." I'm just gonna. That to me is one of the most irresponsible, childlike things to do. Is just because you've been away. Well, I don't like to do that. I'm not. Excuse me, but you want people to give you sympathy and love and care, but you won't 100%. Do the most basic thing, which is to acknowledge that behavior is very childish. And it's
harmful.
And it's harmful. The nation's doing that. The nation keeps doing that and saying, well, this is who the country is. No. Do you want the country to be better? If you do, then you got to acknowledge, you got to do the excavation process. And a lot of people, listen, in our country right now, and this has been this way for decades, can't admit, acknowledge, touch the third rail, whatever wording one wants to use, that this country has ugly stains on it. Because when it's brought up, people go, well, you're not being a patriot. And why can't you let the past be the past? And why can't blah, 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 blah. Right?
Yeah.
But in that conversation, the healing comes from it, to your point, just saying, yeah, this is we're pretty messed up over here. We did some messed up, ugly, nasty things.
Mm-hmm. What is the language the youngins are using now? Healing generational trauma, or breaking the chain of
the cycle. Yeah.
The cycle of trauma in your family, breaking those bonds so that you can, separate yourself, acknowledge that it happened, but separate yourself from it so that you can go on another trajectory. And that's what we need to do here.
Yeah. And it's not about when we have this kind of a conversation about, fixing those problems, it's not saying that the country hasn't been and is not and will not be great. It's saying to be greater, to be more, to be better. Without that acknowledgement, those acknowledgments, we won't be. And let's be honest, we could take this subject and put it into an organizational chart. Here Michelle and I go doing our business thing, and then build categories beneath it. Like we could take that and then apply it to so many things that we're not doing well as a country that other countries are doing better at than we are. As an example, our educational system. As an example, our transportation system. As an example, the environment. As an example, how we handle immigration.
Yep. And don't forget healthcare.
Healthcare. Thank you. I'm sorry. I missed that one. If we could acknowledge that some of the stuff that we're doing isn't the best on the planet.
Yep.
And it's because of some of the historicals that we've allowed to just, let's go back to doing it that way. Then we could actually do better as a country on this path to being great again. I mean, I appreciate you putting it that way. It's a tough area to go. I mean, and I applaud. See, Michelle is one of them thinking people. Her brain is working all the time. And as much as I love Michelle's laugh and her giggle, what you guys have got to understand is underneath the surface of that is an extraordinarily deep, well-read, mindful person that cares about people and wants to see people healing and getting better. And she said, hug it out, but making sure that we're all taking care of each other and moving forward. And so that's who Michelle Peltier is. And you guys are lucky to have her be able to bring you this message this morning. Moments with Michelle.
Can I keep that little snippet? I need to make my own commercial with those words.
Sure.
Thank you,
Hey, you got Devin's phone number and email. Reach out to him and say, hey, man, I need that.
I walk around playing it as I walk. It'll be my theme message.
When you walk in the room, it'll just come on. Boom. That's her walk-on music in your own house. Michelle,
that's very sweet.
Thank you for bringing that enlightenment to us today, and having the courage to say, yeah, we need to fix ourselves and we need to do better about how we go forward. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Richard. I always say it's such an honor that you allow me the opportunity to just come and just speak craziness to your audience, who I love and adore.
Well, our audience loves and adores you as well, and appreciates what you bring to our show and brings to the station and to the message that we need to keep making prevalent for so many people. So thanks, Michelle. Moments with Michelle, y'all. That's what we've been doing this last half hour. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Richard. You have a great day. Bye, Devin.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to let Michelle go, and we're going to take it to a quick break. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is Tony Moray. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners, and we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is moreylawoffice.com. That's Morey spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
It's nice to know someone is on your side. Mark Drugs always has your back. No two dogs are the same. A dosage form or strength of medication that works for one dog may not work for another. A compounding pharmacy like Mark Drugs is here to help you with your pet's medication challenges. We'll be happy to help you when your pet is sick. After all, it can affect the whole family. That's why we give our four-legged patients customized medications to make it easier for them to take. For pet medication problems, first see your veterinarian. Then talk to your hometown independent compounding pharmacy, Mark Drugs. If you'd like to know more about the ways we can personalize medication for each individual patient, we'd be happy to help. We are a compounding pharmacy, which means we can prepare the medication prescribed in a strength and dosage form that meets the patient's needs. Ask us how our pharmacy can help. You have a choice when it comes to your health care, and a great choice is Mark Drugs and Roselle and Deerfield, where you get better health and care for you and your pets. Check out the Pet of the Month at markdrugs.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms at times here for today, with partial sunshine developing and a high in the upper 80s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then for tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 70. By Wednesday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Partial sunshine develops, a high around 85. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 73.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I love the text messages that you're sending me. Cindy in Michigan, Al, and all the rest. 847 for all the texts you guys are sending. 331. I so appreciate that you guys love Michelle, and really appreciate that this is that she touches a nerve in a good way when she's on. So that always means a lot to me. Hey guys, Hal Sparks is going to be up at the Max and Benny's restaurant in Northbrook. Max and Benny's restaurant, deli and bakery in Northbrook. Join Hal and Johnny Million for the special live broadcast of the Hal Sparks radio program this Saturday, July 12th. July 12th, 11 to 1 p.m. If you can make it there, tickets are on sale now for the low cost of $20 each. Get your tickets. Visit heartlandsignal.com and click on the Hal Sparks live event banner at the top of the page. They're going fast, so make your way over there. If you won't be able to make it out to Max and Benny's, be sure to tune in live Saturday from 11 until 1. That's this coming Saturday, so make your way there. All right, guys, we're keeping the race going, and the baton has been handed back to me because now I'm going to hand the baton over to someone who has made inroads and just really clearly understands the importance. And I talked about this at the beginning of the show with the clip that we played about the list of Republicans that had been, in their mind, they recognized that they were either, willfully ignorant, arrogant, bamboozled, all the above about their vote in this previous election, this last election. But there's folks out there that are doing things about it and making sure that we've got some conversations in that space. And we've got Paige Gardner with us this morning, who is a leading national political strategist that will kind of help us navigate through this conversation and some of the work that she's been doing. So, Paige, good morning and welcome to Choose Views, founder of Innovating for the Public Good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being with us. So, Paige, take a moment if you can and let our audience know a little bit about you, a little bit about your background, and then let's talk about the organization and what you and your colleagues are working on right now.
Great. Well, I am, as you said, a political strategist. I founded an organization called Voter Participation Center 25 years ago, which I left, but it became the sort of biggest and most innovative civic engagement organization in the country. It registered people, but it really focused on unmarried women because marital status determines whether or not you register and whether or not you vote and how you vote. And before I started the Voter Participation Center, nobody really was paying attention to marital status or unmarried women, and there's the majority of women in this country. But after 20 years of doing excellent work and getting more and more people involved by registering and turning them out, it was not doing what I thought it should, which was building more power for pro-democracy forces. And so I spent some time researching why we are where we are in this country right now, why Donald Trump can shred the Constitution and what brought that about. And it really began in 1964 with the defeat of Barry Goldwater in his presidential campaign. That was a catalyst for people on the right to lead for my lifetime, an effort to really take over multiple sectors in America and begin to move the country right and begin to move the country towards autocracy. And that's why I started the new organization called Innovating for the Public Good, R&D for Democracy.
So, Paige, and thank you for that, and thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to say this as a badge of honor. You've completely nerded out on this thing called involvement. I got to make you laugh because I was like, "Damn, you have completely nerded out your adult life in a space that we all need to." Our previous guest, Michelle Peltier, was talking about pulling our heads out of the sand and stop enabling some of the processes that go on in our country. But you really have. You've nerded out on why we've got to be more involved and more engaged. And the way in which you've broken down the gender part of voting is fascinating. Take a moment, if you can, and talk a little bit more about the subtleties. And I know this is a deep topic, but talk a little bit about the subtleties of the gender, or the impacts of gender on voting.
Well, oddly enough, it's about marital status more than gender. Okay. I began looking, I looked at the 2000 elections, which we can remember very sadly. And I was looking at how women voted, and it wasn't really gender, but it was marital status. And so, as you say, I did nerd out for many years trying to understand what the relationship was in terms of registering and voting and marital status, and it's causal. In other words, if you are unmarried, then there are ways in which you do and do not participate civically that have, and the reason is because you're unmarried. So there are more unmarried women than unmarried men, so I focused on women, which is another area of expertise of mine. And it was just fascinating, as you said. So I spent 2 years looking at it and then started this organization dealing with unmarried women and the large impact marital status has on whether or not you participate civically.
So So let's come back to that. So the participation part is higher if you're unmarried or if you're married and a woman. What's the ranking there?
Your participation, your registration rates, your turnout rates, and how you vote are related to, as I said, marital status, but you don't register married women register in higher numbers, they vote in higher numbers, and they usually vote more Republican. Unmarried women do not register in terms of their, what they could be in terms of the registration and how many could be registered, and they tend to not turn out as married women do, and they're part of the base group for Democrats.
So why is it based on your research? I figured if I made you laugh, then you got to make me laugh or catch me on. But Paige, help us understand. I mean, it may seem obvious, but let's not make any assumptions. And I certainly don't want to, as best I can. Why is that, though? What's the part of the social dynamic that makes that be the case based on your results and your data?
I'll give you a story that we got from a focus group as an example. There was a woman who wanted to vote. She got off work. She went and stood in line. It was a very, very long line. She was a single mom. And the moms out there will know that if you're late for picking up your child, you get docked in terms of it costs every 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, it costs you, money, and it starts to accumulate if you're really late, and you can't afford that. So this woman in the focus group had to, and she did it carefully, leave the line so she could pick up her child so she wouldn't be docked in terms of money that she could not afford. She was on minimum wage. She needed social services to help her, buy food for her children or child. And so she couldn't vote. And so married women have more of an infrastructure, around them than unmarried women do. And that's one of the reasons why they don't vote and they don't register in as large numbers. They're stretched. They're stressed. They're particularly now because of the, shattering of the economy that we're seeing right now because of the president. So anyway, they have a harder time of it.
Got it. Okay. I mean, I know that it can be overly simplified, but I appreciate the way in which you break that down with the story. So let's talk about this broader topic of pro-democracy. What, in your own way of defining it, but also based on your experience, what does that mean? What are you seeing it means when you talk to people about the words or the actual practice of pro-democracy?
Well, it means living up to our constitutional democracy, following the rule of law, but most importantly, it's making sure that our country is realigned in a way to reflect the values and the needs of the majority. What we see now is a rigging of the system, if you will, through gerrymandering. We have seen the right wing, which is why I started innovating for the public good. The right wing, since Barry Goldwater's presidential campaign, has really taken over many key segments of American society and America. Think about the media infrastructure that they developed, or the court system and the Federalist Society, and culture, what they've done in terms of culture. So they've done this very systematically since 1964 to move the country right and to move the country away from a constitutional democracy.
So in doing that, and building essentially an infrastructure that's allowed this to happen, not to be partisan, but what is it that the country can or should do, or if you want to call it this, the left part of that conversation need to do to balance the scales back out toward a more pro-democracy country?
Well, and this is what innovating for the public good is about, really. I mean, we must develop and deploy sort of longer-term strategies and long-term solutions that go beyond the cycle-to-cycle thinking that has guided the Democrats and the left for years. I mean, the right has thought in decades, and we think in terms of cycles. And that's an electoral policy for change is just one part of what we need to do to bring about change in this country so that we stop the move towards autocracy and we really strengthen our democracy, again, as I said, to reflect the values and the needs of the majority of the people who live here. Because what's happening now is not what people want. They don't want to destroy the Constitution. They don't want the country to go bankrupt. And they don't want to see they don't want to have to struggle with two jobs just to be able to afford their health care or food.
Are there allies that are willing to say, yes, you're right, Paige, we are short-term. We've been thinking short-term for too long, and we have to build or not tear down necessarily, but take the good and rebuild the structure so that the greater good and the majority of Americans are actually getting what you just described? Who are some of the, I guess, political and business allies, if you will? You don't have to name names, but maybe groups, if you will. You can name some names.
Well, innovating for the public good, it's just to address what we're doing. It's really a center for innovation, and it's a center that will test, apply, and as I said, scale new tools. So we get at what's happening and address the underlying dynamics that are so challenging to our democracy. So there are many elected officials who understand, even though they are running in cycle to cycle, themselves, they understand the need for longer-term solutions. And I had a number of them speak at the initial summit we had, including Leader Jeffries and Congressman Raskin and Congresswoman DeLauro, and among others. So they get the need. Even though they live in a cycle-to-cycle world, they get the need for this long-term generational change and understand how dangerous we are now, the dangerous times we live in now, because we are going more and more towards an autocratic system of government. In fact, one of the academics that I work with has said we're in a competitive autocracy. And he's, frighteningly enough, correct.
Okay, so I think I know what that will mean, but can you describe what you and your colleague were talking about when he said a competitive democracy, or autocracy, I'm sorry?
Well, we still will have elections, but the system for elections, as I said earlier, is very much because of gerrymandering, rigged to keep people safe in their seats. But it's more importantly, as you see about year after year, and you see what the courts are doing now and giving Donald Trump so much more power, which was not as it was intended in the Constitution, and with Congress stepping back in terms of their role laid out again in the Constitution. So you may have elections, and you may, you go through the motions, and elections, are clearly important, but they want to increasingly control the outcomes of almost everything, from elections to court decisions and on and on. But there is people don't want this, and the American people are smart, and they will figure out a way to defeat the people who are moving this country away from the legacy of having a government that serves their needs.
Are you confident that in that the American people, I shouldn't ask such a close-ended question, but what is it that gives you a sign of confidence that the American people are smart enough to say, yeah, this is not what we want, and then be able to sort of tie that bow and say, now this is what we're going to do to fix it? Is it going to be that leaders have to bring it to the community? Or does the community bring it to the leaders, or is there a meeting in the middle? And that's the part where I think so many people right now are saying, who's that new voice in the Democratic Party? Who's that guy or gal that's going to be the one that galvanizes everybody? Or is it the community that says, we're coming after you, we're changing this? And this is where I think a lot of folks they almost get stifled in terms of what to do next. Does that make sense what I'm asking you?
Totally. It's real, it's both and. I mean, people are showing up at town meetings and making their voices heard. That's critical. People are trying to protect families from being separated from really these vicious ICE agents. And so people are showing up. They're showing up on the streets, they're showing up in town halls, and they're showing up in their communities. That's really important. And there are groups that are trying and doing a good job of holding members of Congress accountable. But the key thing is we, at the Democrats or whomever, need to run, and this is, people are trying to do this, run a long-term information campaign telling the American people exactly in a nonpartisan way what's happening to our country and why. And again, this is, and we need to do it in an innovative way, which is why I started Innovating for the Public Good, because there's really no center now for innovation that goes out, again, in a nonpartisan way, telling people, okay, this is the change that we can make together, and we do need to make generational change, and everybody needs to be a part of it, whether it's, Cory Booker, Senator Booker, speaking on the floor of the Senate, or whether it's Leader Jeffries speaking for 7+ hours in the House to argue against the big, ugly bill. So there are leaders who are giving us hope and doing the things that they need to do, but it's really up to everyday citizens to make sure that they know, or they let their members of Congress know, or their elected officials on the state level too, that this will not, what they're doing is wrong, and they're hurting their constituents, they're hurting children, and this will not pass. Their time is up.
Yeah,
gotta go.
It's unacceptable. We are talking with the founder of what abbreviated as IFPG, stands for Innovating for the Public Good, Paige Gardner. Paige, there's so much. And first of all, I'm going to say this. This always happens. I can't wait to have you back because there's so much more to talk about.
Thank you.
And so many things that we want to be able to see. I look at what you're doing as you and I have both already sort of geeked out and nerded out on it. But I look at what you're doing and have done as a way for people to be aspirational about the change for the future, because you get into the nuances of things that need to be repaired, but then also replaced with something that's significantly better. And I have to ask you this question, and I know we're short on time. Where does age fit into this conversation about the restructure? I mean, Jeffries and Booker are both in their early 50s. They're in a strike point politically. I think they've been doing it for a while. But there are others that are saying there's so many voices that are saying we need, quote, younger leaders. I think we need younger voices, younger action. It doesn't have to be chronologically younger. But how does age play in your understanding or your belief as it relates to this reshoring up of democracy?
Well, age has a lot, obviously, age in terms of members of Congress. Each person needs to be able to judge whether they think they're still being effective, and some are and some aren't, and some should move aside, and some are doing fabulous work as older members of Congress. So I think you have to look at it on an individual basis, but there is a need, as you say, there is a need for newer voices, not necessarily younger, but newer voices that come in and have other life experience that they can bring to the table to help restore, the constitutional democracy that we hope to be living in again.
Got it. I have to ask you this sort of a last question. You talked about structure, and one of the structural things that we have that dates back to, enslavement and really post-enslavement, and that's the Electoral College, as part of an antiquated way for us to be voting in this country of all the people that we have. Do you think that there's so many thoughts about that, and maybe you and I can have another conversation about this in the future, but where does that fit into your, your view as it relates to restructuring some of the things that are part of our country?
Well, it really distorts the election results. And again, before I started the Voter Participation Center, one of the things I did was look at the 2000 election, which was, in my view, wrongly decided by the Supreme Court. But if we had not had the Electoral College, we would have had President Gore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we'd be in a different place in the country, if not the world, had we not had that in place. And the next time that we talk, we'll get into that in more depth in terms of what can be done to fix it, because I know that you've got a lot of thoughts about it, and we have limited time this morning where you and I can nerd out on that in more detail. But how can folks find you, find the organization, and make it one of the things on their list of groups to be a part of and to get involved in? Because I'm really, really, really pushing really every week, if not every day of the week of my show, to get people involved. And you said it yourself earlier that that's going to be critically important. But how can folks get involved with your organization and the work that you guys are doing?
Well, the website is innovatingforpublicgood.org. And they could contact me through my email, which is pgardner@innovatingforpublicgood.org.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Paige, thanks for being with us this morning. And I really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to chat with us and have our listeners be able to be introduced to yet another person that's in the fight and putting things in place to make this, to help this democracy stand up and be strong. So thank you for being with us this morning. I look forward to having you back in the weeks to come so we can talk in more depth about a couple of things: participation, talk about what it means to be involved in a democracy, what it means to be involved in participating. So thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Have a good day. Bye now.
Bye.
All right, guys. Well, as we say, we're coming to the end of yet another show. Great to have Paige Gardner with us, and I made her chuckle a little bit about how I said she's kind of nerded out or geeked out on this topic, but it is one of huge importance to make sure that we're fighting to maintain and improve our democracy. There's so much to cover. I know that you guys are sending me different text messages. Ask her this, ask her that. And, it's kind of hard to get all those things in a short window of time. But voter participation is critically important. We had 36% of the voting population that did not participate in the last election. And that, frankly, is unacceptable. Appreciate what Michelle Peltier had to say today about enabling and pulling our heads out of the sand and fighting back on these crazy ideas that a lot of people are throwing at us, but we have to fight back in a way that empowers us. And then it was nice to have H.H. Leonard's with us this morning, and Tracy as well. They both were great to talk with and to chuckle with about 51 Steps to Freedom, and that was Tracy Halliday and H.H. Leonard's. Guys, end of the show. Like always, what do we say? Take a deep breath and make your life count. We will be back tomorrow with more fun guests and all the stuff that we do here at Choose Views. Thanks, guys, for being with us. Have a great day.
Are you tired of talking to yourself? We can get you an audience on the radio. You can produce and host your own radio show on one of our 2 stations. Please call 773-792-1121. That's 773-792-1121 and ask for Mark. Limited space available.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish, at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience